for the people of Fresh. There was one DJ who had to pass the test, and now he's down below and he's ready to play. That's right, y'all, his name is AJ. Never gets nervous when he cuts the beat. He gets that line service in the clutch on the street. A complete elite, it can't be beat, cause AJ never knew the agony of defeat. Sing! AJ! All
right, let me kill it and get to it. Man, it is another day. It is the beginning of the week, and it is another, oh my goodness, week right here on the lunch break, brought to you by the Jones Media and Entertainment Group. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, and we're on ROKU TV, courtesy of BS3. That's right, BS3 TV, Ben Sutter III. If you want to check it out on Roku, all you got to do is go to Roku on your streaming device or your Roku TV, download BS3 TV. That's right, BS3 TV. Look for all the great shows that are under the BS3 TV network. I'm going to show you several of them at the end of the show, and you'll be able to check out the lunch break right there in the middle of your big screen. So appreciate Ben Sutter III and all the good folks over at BS3 for allowing me to be down with them and allowing me to be on the TV network. All right, a lot happened this weekend, man. I want to start right off the rip, giving a lot of love to the Jackson State Tigers ladies basketball team. Got to give them a lot of love. They were that close. The Lady Tigers were that close to running LSU off the court in March Madness on the women's side. And man, I got to tell you, I was hoping that it would happen. I got to give a lot of love to the head coach of Jackson State, Sister Tamika. I love her. Coach Tamika, Coach T, I love her. And again, she really coached her behind off. Came down the stretch, a few too many turnovers, not enough points in the last closing seconds of the game. And I'm going to say it. Y'all can say what you want to say. Couple of friendly calls to the ladies of LSU. And here we are. But a lot of controversy after the game because Coach Cynthia Mulkey, is that her name? Anyway, Coach Mulkey of LSU made a comment, unprovoked, unasked for. She wasn't answering a question. She basically gave credit to Coach T and the ladies of Jackson State. But then she said, I'm going to say this, and, you know, I might get in trouble, whatever the case may be. But she said that Coach T wasn't going to be at Jackson State much longer if Jackson State doesn't pay her. And that has started a little bit of controversy in the HBCU community. I am going to talk about it with Coach Johnny Cole tomorrow. We've rescheduled the HBCU stroll here on the lunch break to tomorrow at 12 noon. I'm going to bring this up with him because I can see it from both sides. I can see it that Coach Mulkey was giving credit to a peer who happens to coach at an HBCU, and in her opinion, they better pay her if they want to keep her. I can get it from that perspective, but you got to know this is not our first rodeo. This is not the first time we've heard people give comments and compliments that could have more than one meaning. And I, for one, just, you know, I wish Coach Mulkey would have just kept it on the game and left it at that. Because we shouldn't even be put in a position where we've got to wonder what she meant and what she might have implied. And that's my thing. I don't need you opening a can of worms for an HBCU, the HBCU community, Jackson State, and Coach T, and those powerful ladies that went for the second time undefeated in the regular season of the SWAC, undefeated in the tournament, and made it to March Madness. Shouldn't have to even be dealing with that right now. They should be celebrating the fact that they had another great run and the best is yet to come. But there is an underlying subconscious implication that if the HBCU can't pay you, they can't keep you. I don't like it. Again, I can see it from both sides. And for you monolithic people who feel like it's one side or it's wrong, I'm not even really dealing with you today. I'm dealing with the fact that the compliment from Coach Mulkey had multiple facets to it. And even if not intended, it started something that did not need to be started. And we've had enough of the implication that an HBCU is a step down or beneath a great coach. It's that simple. And, again, when you've got people who don't understand, don't know, and don't take the time to dive into it, well, they're going to be offended on the wrong side of it, on the opposite side of it. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I know a lot of folks who know so much more about historically Black colleges and universities and cover it on an every second of their lives basis. They've got a lot more to say about it. Again, I will address it more at length tomorrow on the show with Coach Johnny Cole as we do our HBCU stroll. Big shout out to Ben Sutter III. He has chimed in. I see you, my brother. Hope you and the family had a blessed weekend. Saw you and Dad hanging out. Nothing but love. Big shout out to L. Williams. Hello, AJ. Hello, my brother. Hope everything is going well with Khalil over there in the XFL, or is it the USFL? He's trying out for right now. I hope everything is going well there. All right, so that was one of the oh my goodness moments. Of course, March Madness in itself was an oh my goodness moment. I want to say bye-bye to a couple of teams that I am really glad to see gone. Number one on that list, bar none, the Wisconsin Badgers. I am so glad to be able to tell you I'll see you at the bar. You're not going to be in the tournament. You're done. You've been kicked out. You lost. Single elimination, you've been eliminated. And with their phenomenal, very friendly, fun to be around head coach Greg Gard, who if you say something that he doesn't like is subject to stop you from walking away from him until he makes sure you hear what he has to say about it. Bro, take that with you. Take that with you, in the words of Dirk Nowitzki. I'm so glad to see Wisconsin gone. I cannot see straight. Feel bad for the young men and the people associated with that program as players. But as far as the coach and the athletic director and the administration goes, good for you. So glad you'll be watching from the stands or somewhere else, because you will not be in the Sweet 16. Number two on that list is Tom Izzo and the good folks up at Michigan State. Again, a coach that is allowed to get away with so much more than other coaches because he's Tom Izzo. Well, brother, go ahead and continue your anger management classes. Go ahead and continue getting ready for whatever's next season, because you're out. Bye-bye. And then Chris Beard and the UT Longhorns. Man, I gotta tell you, it breaks my heart to tell Todd, to tell Keith Hennick, to tell Longhorn Keith, not yet. Not yet. I will give credit, though. I will give credit where credit is due. Chris Beard has done a great job with the program. Their first tournament win since 2014? Kudos. Congratulations. Great job. They've got some talent in at UT. My question is, are they going to be able to keep that talent at UT? Because they've got a number of guys that look like they can take the next step right now. But the one thing that they didn't have and they really needed, and Chris Gardner, Mr. Houston Roundball Review, local name, global perspective, and I have said on a number of occasions, and L. Williams can attest to this, being the aficionado about basketball that he has been and is, you can't teach size. And Purdue had a couple of trees out there, a couple of trees that had skill. And when they decided to take over, it was more than UT could overcome. In fact, there was one play when the big man from Toronto was in there for Purdue, where the big man for UT decided he was going to take him. He was going to take him off the dribble. And that big tree just didn't move. He didn't move, and he didn't get any smaller. And all the big man for UT could do was dribble it right out of bounds. He didn't try to stop. He didn't try to pass. He didn't try to do anything. He just couldn't do anything with that size. And let me say this before I bring my special guest in. Ivy for Purdue is just special. That young man is next level special. And I really enjoyed watching him take that next step last night in March Madness. All right, without further ado, let me bring in my friend, my sister, my colleague, the first woman to be a Black broadcast journalist in Houston, Texas. I don't think you're just the first Black woman. Kim, am I wrong?
I'm the first. No, I'm the first Black woman. There was Anita Martini before me.
Okay, all right.
Long-time radio host at KPRC Radio.
We'll take that, but I got to give you respect and honor for who you are and what you've done, and I appreciate you joining me on a special edition of Oh My Goodness Monday. Obviously, a lot went on at the end of last week, and I want to have a chance to talk about it. But before we do, I want to extend my deepest condolences to you and the family of Craig Shelton as he was memorialized and laid to rest Saturday here in the city of Houston.
Yeah, thanks for that. It was a really standing room only. You know, Craig was loved by many, and it was a service that was befitting of him. His brother eulogized him, and he talked about him. In the program, it even mentioned in his obituary how he would be regularly suspended from Facebook because of his political views. So his brother, when he talked about him, he said, "Listen, we can't stand up here and pretend I love my brother, but we know who my brother was." And so his sister said to me after the service, she's like, "Thanks for your words." And she said, and I said, "I just think a lot of people maybe didn't understand Craig." And she said, "He was hard to know. But if you knew him, you really couldn't have a better friend." But yeah, she said, he was hard to know. And I thought, you know what, that may be a good way to describe him. You talked about last week on my show your experience and how he first kind of came at you, and then you were like, okay, and then y'all were cool because that's just who he was. But yeah, I said, look, he was gonna stand 10 toes down in what he believed, and he didn't care who you were, and he would tell you to put your big girl panties on, your big boy drawers on, whatever it was, and keep it moving. But he genuinely do anything for anybody. So yeah, we will definitely miss him.
Yeah, I heard Indy Kalu talked about how Craig came at him about something, and Indy was like, and I was wrong. He was right. But it was just
he said, but I was offended, but I was like, right. Yeah, he did. He shared that story and said how he didn't even know that Craig had been sick. And I think that's one of the things, we say we don't look like what we've been through. He'd been sick for a long time, and he never talked about it. I knew because I knew from the beginning, and he never complained about it. He kept, he shot a pilot. I was in 2 of his shows that he was doing this fishing show. He was moving along and going on, with life. And so I think that's another lesson for us and a reminder for us. Listen, people got stuff going on. You have no idea what they're dealing with. And so we just pushed through, and he did that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny because that's what he was talking to me about covering more of. He's like, man, you need to talk about more fishing. You're just not doing shows down in a city that's right next to the Gulf for no reason. I'm like, okay, all right.
It's a huge audience, and I don't know if you were here back when Tom Dickerson was at Channel 13. He's a male reporter, a Black man that was at Channel 13 for many years. he started on the news side, was a very good reporter, and then at the end of his career, he did these outdoor segments. And so he did fishing, but he did other stuff too.
Yeah.
And that's such a big thing in this part of the country. There's a lot of interest in fishing. I
Yeah.
like fish. I'm not a fisher person, a fisher woman, or whatever you want to call it,
Uh-huh.
but there's a huge interest in it, and not Fred, Craig had tapped into it. He loved to fish, and I was like, I need you to bring the fish back, but I need you to bring it back cleaned,
Clean.
scaled, and clean. Because what am
Right.
I gonna do with this?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, Kim, yeah, I definitely wanted to extend my condolences to you and his family and all of the many friends that he had and people whose lives he touched in such a unique and special way. Again, that was not, in fact, at the homegoing service that I was officiating, somebody brought him up. Somebody was kind of going over the different services that were going on today. And when they said Craig's, I looked at him like, you knew Craig? I was like, oh, yeah, I knew his family for a long, long, long time. So I was just like,
Oh
wow,
wow.
there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. Well, Kim, a lot of buzz, emotion, issues going around. And I guess Houston is a part of it for the simple fact that the former starting quarterback of the Houston Texans got traded away at the end of last week to the Cleveland Browns after we heard that Cleveland had been informed they were no longer in the running. Kind of put it all in Kim Y. Davis's chalk talk, historic words. Tell me, what were your thoughts?
So a few thoughts, right? I was surprised because we had heard that Cleveland was out of it, that he wanted to be in a warm city. Cleveland is not. That he wanted to be near family.
Far from that.
Cleveland is not.
Yep.
We did hear that he wanted to be with a team that would win. Cleveland does offer him the opportunity for that, but and in more of a big metropolitan area. I mean, I guess Cleveland could fall into that. I mean, it's not Atlanta
Right.
or even New Orleans, although maybe New Orleans may be smaller in size. It's got a different feel to it.
Does.
So I think we were shocked by a lot of those things. And here's the other thing, AJ. If I'm not mistaken, Deshaun's team reached out to Atlanta, right? They weren't originally one of the teams that were in the hunt. That his team reached out to Atlanta, and then they were like, "Oh, okay." And so Atlanta effectively kind of damaged, if not ruined, their relationship with their quarterback.
Right.
And then Deshaun was like, "Psh, I'm out. I'm going to Cleveland." Um, Good for him for getting the contract he did. The idea that you could sit out an entire year under a cloud, and whatever happens, it was a cloud or is a cloud of all of these sexual misconduct allegations, and not play for an entire year and then get the contract he did. First of all, I need David negotiating my stuff. So the next time I'm on with you, I'm gonna have to have David work out my deal, right? 'Cause clearly, David is a master negotiator, right? He negotiated the contract that Deshaun had that gave him the no trade clause that
Yep.
many people say he weaponized to get what he wanted. I imagine no trade clauses will look a lot differently moving forward. There'll probably be some language around, but if you want to be traded, all bets are off. I mean, I imagine no trade clauses, although they are few and far between in the
They are
NFL,
in the
will
NFL.
look very differently moving forward. So he gets the biggest guaranteed money ever in the NFL, right? He gets a raise, he gets an extension, and the Browns let them negotiate the deal so that his base salary for 2022 is $1 million. So that's what they're planning on, expecting that there will be an extension and there will be a suspension, right? So if he's suspended, it's $55,000 a game as opposed to millions per
Right.
game.
Right.
I think that's a lot. So one, good for Deshaun for getting this deal. Um, I wish him nothing but success. But I think what it reminds us is that all that matters is winning in the NFL. They're only interested in if you have talent, nothing else really matters. You can say that it matters about women, and I'm not saying Deshaun didn't that he's wrong, but I'm saying I think we don't know yet, right? The fact that there were no criminal charges tells us there was not enough evidence to indict him. That's what we know. but we don't know whether some other stuff went down. We know that obviously, at the very, very least, he is guilty of bad judgment. Now, you don't get to go to jail for that, but are you rewarded for that? And what is the lesson for you moving forward? I don't know. I'm not judge and jury, and I'm not, I'm not the moral standard. But I was just surprised at how it went down, and I think it's a reminder about where the NFL is. So I was on the CBS station here last night, and one of the guys said, "Yeah, what it says is Cleveland's like, you know what? If you got a lot of talent, we want you on our team. That's all we care about." And I think that's what it comes down to.
Kim Y. Davis, Chalk Talk Sports broadcast journalist here in Houston, Texas, joining me on Oh My Goodness Monday here on the lunch break, brought to you by the Jones Media and Entertainment. I love the way you just outlined that, because that literally encapsulates all the different facets to this story, all the different things that are mixed into this gumbo. And depending upon who you talk to, they want to make one facet of it more important than any of the others. Mm-hmm. And I guess you can do that, but I also believe that you don't have to do that. There are so many different things. And just for a minute to kind of talk about the morality piece of it, I mean, you and I have both been doing this for a little while now. It's like the moral compass is just that, a compass. If you point it in any given direction, that's the direction that you can go in. And people's moral compasses seem to change given the situation, the player, the impact, the organization. I mean, I'm not knocking anyone that is pro-woman, not knocking that at all. And I am not even the person that needs to say, I have a mother and I have a wife and I've got daughters, and therefore, listen, if you don't have those people, you should still have that desire to see that women are treated fairly, equally, and protected. Again, that is not a badge of honor to say that you've got female friends, therefore you feel as strongly as you do. But this moral compass thing seems to be all over the place. I have not seen more people just literally get into the nuts and bolts about the grand jury. So it went through the process. The evidence of 9 of the 10 women whose cases were presented before the grand jury were presented. The testimony was given for over 6 hours. And the grand jury came back with the decision to not indict on any of those charges. Right. And then folks will say, well, it's misogyny and it's again, male chauvinism, and grand juries are not made up like that. They're not made up of all one gender. They're not made up of all one culture. It's just not the way it's structured for a reason, a reason. And then I hear that, well, you can indict a ham sandwich. Well, apparently you can't, because the evidence that was presented didn't bring back one indictment. And I just don't know that there was anything sinister or salacious done to tip the scales of justice in that sense. So that part has been settled.
Right.
Now folks want all 22 of the civil lawsuits to be settled. What are your thoughts about that? Should teams have stayed back until those 22 civil lawsuits have been settled?
It's been a little over a year now. And I know that COVID impacted the courts when they just started really dealing with this case in the court system in terms of hearing depositions and that sort of thing over the past month. I don't know. I'm a little torn, right? I think that if it were 2 or 3 cases, it wouldn't be quite the outcry. I think the sheer number that there are 22 cases, 22 allegations of sexual misconduct. And remember, with the National Football League, it is about conduct that's detrimental, right, to the league.
A code of conduct policy.
It's a code of conduct. Listen, when I was anchoring and working for TV stations, I had morality clauses in my contracts.
Right.
It didn't say that if I went to jail.
Right.
Basically, you do something that's a bad reflection on us, we got a problem. And that's in a sense.
We saw that with Ezekiel Elliott. He had not been convicted of anything.
Right.
In his specific case of abuse, the grand jury there, the investigators there decided there was not enough evidence to indict him.
Right.
However, the league decided to suspend him for, what was it, 6 games?
It was 6 games.
Because of the totality of the conduct that he was displaying. Not just that, but some of the other things that he had done while in the league. Do you see that being a possibility here in this case?
Yeah, I see it being a possibility. I think that we have to remember that the standard for indictment and criminal charges is at a higher bar than it is on the civil cases.
Correct.
These cases all started in civil court,
Correct.
right? So I think the NFL, first of all, do I think he's going to get suspended? Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And for anyone who says he served a year, yeah, y'all, he wasn't suspended.
He wasn't suspended.
He was not. He got paid for last year.
Right.
He was not suspended. So that's not going to count as time served.
Correct.
So I think that the NFL, I cannot imagine that the NFL will not hand down a suspension. I just have no idea what that suspension will be. This is why Roger Goodell gets paid $45 million a year to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I know that the league does like to let the NFL office, the legal proceedings be complete before they weigh in. So that's from the NFL office standpoint.
Yeah.
I guess, because it wasn't just Cleveland. Cleveland is a team he went to, but there were several teams that were vying for his services. So it's not just Cleveland that, let's be honest, is not really interested in what happened. I just don't believe they are. I believe that if you were talented enough, you get to play.
Yeah.
And there's no videotape, right? Because when there's pictures of it, that changes things, a la Ray Rice, right?
Correct.
So it's just a matter of how many games he'll get and when they'll do it. I don't think the NFL will make a decision until these 22 cases have been, I guess, settled or decided. And I don't know how long that could drag out. But here's the thing, AJ does, so Deshaun will go to camp and he's going to work out with Cleveland and the whole 9 yards. And will he go through this season? Could this be next year? I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take.
Right.
Because there's no real, unless he just gets tired, he being Deshaun, of the nuisance of it, having to come back and forth to Houston, because these 22 cases will be tried individually. So that's 22 different court situations, right? And so will he want to come back and forth? I don't know. Will he then say, I'll just settle? Because now, do you settle? I mean, I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
I just think that now there's no real urgency, if you will, for him to probably settle these cases.
Let me share. We got Kim White Davis joining us, Chalk Talk Sports, longtime broadcast journalist here in the area, and absolutely love having her on the show. Let me read the statement from the NFL. It says, and I quote, "Any transaction would have no effect on the NFL's ongoing comprehensive investigation." That seems to be the new buzz phrase, comprehensive investigation. I'll show you why in a second. I go back to the quote, "Of the serious allegations against Deshaun Watson, nor would it affect his status under the collective bargaining agreement and his personal conduct policy. If the league's investigation determines that Watson violated the personal conduct policy, discipline may be imposed pursuant to the policy and the CBA."
Yep, they can do what they want to do. They're going to wait, see what's up. And they're like, listen, Cleveland signing him, no bearing on what we do. And here's the thing. The NFL has to really look at this, and they can't really get this wrong. Now, I don't know what the right answer is, but they don't pay me $45 million to know. If they did, I probably could come up with something. But they can't get this. They can't really afford to get this wrong because they have a lot of women supporters, right? They do. They have a lot of women fans. We know at the end of the day, it's all about money.
Yeah.
It's all about money.
Yeah.
And so if they ever think it's going to, listen, when the Colin Kaepernick stuff was happening and The league took a little bit of a hit. They still got each team $246 million for TV from the TV contract, but they took about a 10% hit. They were whining about that.
Right.
So
Right.
money is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And if they think it's going to impact their dollars, their sponsor relationships, it'll be interesting to see how they move forward. This word is so overused since COVID first started, but it's unprecedented, right?
That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. While we got it, let me read the Cleveland Browns statement. And I quote, we spent a tremendous amount of time exploring and investigating the opportunity to trade for Deshaun Watson. We are acutely aware and sympathetic to the highly personal sentiments expressed about this decision. Our team's comprehensive evaluation process was of utmost importance due to the sensitive nature of the situation and the complex factors involved. We also understand that there are still some legal proceedings that are ongoing, and we will respect due process. It was pivotal that we, along with Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, meet with Deshaun to have a straightforward dialogue, discuss our priorities, and hear directly from him on how he wants to approach his career on and off the field, end quote.
So let me say this. I know that there were reports over the weekend. There were quotes from the plaintiff's attorney, Tony Busby, who said that he had not been contacted, and he said, "Of course they wouldn't contact me. Of course, why would you contact the plaintiff's attorneys?" I don't know that is the answer. I don't see any reason why they would have done that.
But
so
Kim, hold on a second, because that's a very big point that gets overlooked in the social media arena. A lot of folks have taken what he has said out of context to say he was saying that, in a snippet way, of course they wouldn't contact me, as if to say that's too close to the right thing to do.
Right.
And in reality, it doesn't make legal sense to go to the defendant's attorney when you can get all of their information now through their statements, through the filings, and through what was presented to the grand jury.
Right, because what Cleveland is not trying to do is to try the case, right?
Right.
What they're trying to do is, what they should be trying to do is to ascertain, where is Deshaun's head, right? Where is he in this? I don't know what the conversations were like. I imagine they had some very frank conversations, and talked about how he moves forward. Because let's be very clear, Deshaun's got to move differently.
Right.
That's not saying that he's guilty. That's not saying, but he's got to move differently. He's got to move differently. And I'm sure that was part of the conversation. Let's moving forward, not let this be the way that you build your masseuse team.
Right.
I think that's fair. I don't know what they said. If I was the Browns, and if I were advising Deshaun and David and his team, which, they have no interest in that, I'm sure. But I think at some point, if this is all about moving forward, he needs to say or do something. I don't think you just go on and play football like none of this ever happened. I think that there needs to be something that he does and says because listen, we covered him for several years.
Right.
He's a good young man. He's not just some horrible thug.
Right.
But he's made some not so great decisions. I
Right.
think that we've seen that.
Right.
We sometimes can make decisions even in people that we allow in our circle.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not talking about criminal or any of that, but we have to move differently.
Right.
And I hope that, and I imagine that's what those conversations were. But why would they talk to the defendant's lawyers? They can find out everything that was said. They're interested in Deshaun, quite frankly, Deshaun Watson, where his head is, what he's going to do for their team, for their city, and as they said, on and off the field.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Ken Y. Davis, Chalk Talk Sports. Ivan Dawkins talked about discovery, and again, there is enough testimony out there for them to get what they
Yeah.
need without going to the the plaintiff's attorneys or the attorneys of the woman.
Why would you give him that platform anyway? I mean, it's just been a media um, circus with him. He's
Yeah.
just a media whore. I'm sorry, he is.
Well, and again, we know that because we're here. We saw
Because we're here.
with his the way he went about Kevin Sumlin in at A&M. We know about the whole situation with the tank in River Oaks. We know about the woman that accused Tony Busby of doing stuff that, if it had been anybody else, it would have been splattered all over the news. So, we're here, we're local, we know the Ian Rappaports and the Adam Schefters and all that. They not in the woods that deep. So
their contacts, i.e., the Texans front office, isn't telling them that. But I digress.
Exactly. Well, we know where Tony Busby lives and who lives right next to him. So we know that. Yeah. We know that. I heard today on one of the national shows that they feel like the Cleveland Browns should have waited until all of it was resolved. So the 22 civil cases, which in their opinion, in their statement, was just as much of the legal process as the grand jury piece and the criminal piece. I kind of agree with their just as much, but in legalese, it doesn't always happen that way. It doesn't always happen that way because literally he could settle all 22 of those cases out of court and claim no sense of guilt, none whatsoever. And, people will still prejudge him. People will still decide that he's either guilty or not.
Yeah, well, I think there are many people who've made their decisions about him. I think the sheer volume, right? It's the volume. And I just don't think you can not look at it. So yeah, have there been cases where women have lied about this? There have been. I don't know that you can just go to that initially, right? And say, well, they must be all lying. I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to say that he did anything wrong. I'm saying I do not know. And I think the process needs to play out. I don't, imagine that they would have waited. I don't know. I mean, I get it. So for anyone who feels like because he was not criminally charged, he didn't do anything wrong, that's not what that said. What it said was there was not enough evidence to indict him. DAs, grand juries don't like to move forward with indictments if they don't feel like there's enough evidence to get a conviction, right? And so that's what that said was we don't have enough evidence to move forward with a criminal case. Yeah. But that's why there is a civil process. Right. And remember, these all started as civil cases. Right. Like the presentation of 10 of these cases, only 9 were presented to the grand jury that were presented to the DA's office. Those came later. Yeah. So, we'll see. And remember, he was very close to settling these cases. He was motivated to settle them in the fall because he was trying to get them settled in order to go to Miami, because Miami needed one of the cases settled before they pulled the plug on the deal. Mm-hmm. And all but 4, I think, agreed. Now, I don't know if those 4 are part of the 9 or 10 that were also trying to, move forward with criminal charges. I have no idea. I guess I could look and see, but I have not. I don't know. Yeah, no, that's
fine. The number is definitely alarming, and we have colleagues and I have close friends and even family who want to go with the believe the women. Just believe the women. You just got to always believe the women, and I can't go past Brian Banks. I can't go past others who spent decades in prison. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was something different. I just can't go past that. And the fact that, well, that was just that one, but what about the ones that don't get reported? No, ma'am. No, sir. Yeah. You don't get to determine that somebody else it was okay that they went to prison so that you could prove your point about the number of people accusing Deshaun Watson. It cannot work that way. And I'm not saying that I've got the answer. I don't.
Right. Right.
And that's why the legal process has to have a chance to play out. And then again, I hate to bring this up, similar to our free election process, our democracy, our peaceful transfer of power. You don't get to say it was rigged when you don't win. When the process plays out and there's not an indictment, and then the civil piece plays out, and if that doesn't go the way that people thought it should go, well, then guess what? You got to, at some point, move on, and you've got to let this man go. You've got to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you. I don't know what the answer is. I think letting the process play out fully is the answer. I don't, I don't know anything other than that. I mean, I'm not willing to say that all the women are lying.
Right.
Nor am I willing to say
Same here.
that women that it's not that there are no cases of something being exaggerated. I don't know. And so I think, I think you have to let it run its course and see what happens. So yeah, I mean, I think Ivan makes a great point. I think the evidence was light in terms of a criminal indictment.
Right.
But some of the things, and I don't know if you've read all those cases, you can go and read in the claims, and I've read many of them. And some of the things they talk about, which is why they probably didn't pursue. There were only 9 of these women, or 10, that tried to pursue criminal charges.
Right.
The other 12 did not. Only 9 of the 10 were presented, right, to the grand jury.
Mm-hmm.
The threshold for criminal charges is very different from civil cases, as we've seen in the past. And when you read some of the stuff, it may be a little creepy, not criminal, but so the actual reading of the stuff is like, really that happened?
Yeah.
But does it make you say it's illegal?
Yeah.
So I think we can't confuse the two, right? The grand jury, the criminal cases, the criminal complaints, because there were no criminal charges, the complaints
right,
that were not, they were no billed, says not enough for any criminal, there no crimes of these cases that we were presented. We don't believe that there was any criminal activity. We don't have enough evidence to indict. But it's not to say that some unsavory stuff didn't go down.
Correct. Donna Coleman Holman says, "Ooh, we love her eyewear."
Thank you, Donna. Appreciate it.
Donna, we love you, sis. Thank you again for your service of our country.
Thanks for your service.
Yeah. So I always hate to minimize things with a fictional movie, but Jamie Foxx in Law Abiding Citizen said something to the effect, it's not about the truth, it's about what we can prove. And that sent the other main character in the movie on an entire spiral of trying to exact his own form of justice. There are people that are now no longer going to support the Browns. There are people now that looking for a place to put their fandom. We have colleagues that are saying now that they're going to have a hard time covering the Browns because this can it triggers them. It makes them feel some kind of way. And I often wonder, and again, it's about this moral compass being all over the place. Did people have any trouble covering the New England Patriots? While what Robert Kraft did, was what I guess settled out of court, or the charges were dropped. I don't even remember how.
Yeah, I think the charges were dropped. He was accused of paying prostitute in Florida. Well, that's not legal.
If it had been anybody else, it would have been part of sex trafficking. But because it was Robert Kraft, it was, just, poor old man and, yada, yada, yada. Has he been suspended yet by the league?
He has not been suspended.
Personal conduct policy?
No, he was just embarrassed for a moment.
Okay. And they even got comments from his neighbors saying that we love Robert Kraft. He's done so much for the community. We're going to always support him. The Ben Roethlisberger thing, Brett Favre and the massage therapist with the New York Jets. I mean, there are so many just different, and I'm not trying to do Me Tooism and whataboutism. What I'm saying is at some point, yes, the league maybe needs to step in and go stronger and harder if these things happen. we're going to suspend for a year. They've got it in place obviously for gambling. They got it in place for domestic violence. There's got to be something stronger as a deterrent, up front, regardless of whether it's Deshaun Watson or Tom Brady. There's got to be something else.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. The league has to have, they've got to come up with a real policy.
Yeah.
Okay. That we pretty much know that 6 games is like the floor,
Right.
but they need to have some real conversation about it, and we don't respect women like we do men. And say, oh yeah, Todd makes a good point.
But you know what? And I guess I say, yeah, but is it that cut and dry? Is it that cut and dry? Here's what I say. It's the National Football League. That doesn't make them good at domestic violence situations. That doesn't make them good at sexual assault situations. Some people are just not good at doing multiple things at one time. And I had a little bit of hope when Roger Goodell had the big press conference about we've outsourced this to people who handle this on an everyday basis. Now, he then went ahead and attacked another female reporter. But my point was, if you can't do it right, then get somebody who can. And it doesn't mean that they don't respect women. They just are not qualified to handle and decide on these kind of cases.
So, yes, I agree with you. I don't think overall there's any real healthy respect for women. I mean, I've covered the league for 30 years. It doesn't matter to them.
And I defer to you. I definitely defer.
I don't think it really matters. I think it's as long as it doesn't become a nuisance or a problem. Because if it's a nuisance or a problem that we have to deal with, then we will. But otherwise, we'll just it is a culture. The culture is about money. And if Deshaun Watson was a mediocre player, Cleveland Browns, we wouldn't have this conversation.
Right.
Why do you think Antonio Brown got so many chances? Because he's such a talent. It's not because, we think that he's going to be less of a cancer? No, because he's so talented and we want to win. And because we look at these players, as property in our assets, in our big web of of our business, then that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
We're not so, and really what they would like to say, but they can is, man, y'all miss me on that. When you buy a team, then you get to decide. But right now, we want to win, and we don't really care.
Kim Y. Davis, Chalk Talk Sports, longtime broadcast journalist here in Houston, Texas. That's why I love you, because at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
So folks rightly so, folks are feeling some kind of way about Deshaun. But again, Jimmy Haslam, Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft, Stephen Ross. Those are the folks that are pulling the strings behind Roger Goodell. Those are the people who could right now decide what they're going to do and get it done. Obviously,
kind of like with Colin Kaepernick, who took a knee and never got to play again.
Yeah.
So we don't want that.
Yeah.
But because that is egregious.
Yeah.
How dare you stand up for some social consciousness and justice for people of color, for Black people. But this stuff right here about these women and maybe something happened, we don't really care. That is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, because we got to get ready to go. Todd, the challenge with these cases is 1% of the sexual assault allegations end up in a conviction. So some would say, since there isn't a conviction, there shouldn't be a punishment. It's a culture of sexual misconduct. Just my 2 cents. Again, I agree with that from that standpoint, but you don't then throw the weight on the other side where you start convicting more people, whether they're innocent or not, or excuse me, whether they're guilty or not, just to make up for the fact that 1% of these cases end in conviction. Again, you don't sacrifice people to get it right.
Yeah. You do not, and I agree with you on that. And I know that you're short on time, but before we go, I think I would just like to say I'm saddened that Carlos Correa is gone.
Yeah. I was going to get that in. I was going to get it in.
The young Pena can step in because I really want to see not just the Astros win. I want to see Dusty get a chip. So, hey,
Let me ask you about that, Kim. Why didn't he take the Astros money, which was very similar to the money that he took, or a 1-year deal with the Astros, which is in essence what he took from Minnesota?
because I think we all know that he's not going to be buying a house in Minnesota. He'll be opting out at the end of next year. And I don't know. And I think the Astros were, they wanted a deal. And I guess because he wanted to have a chance at it, if this year he plays really well to be able to go back to the table and get even more money. I was disappointed. I was hoping that Lowe's could work it out and that he and the Astros could work it out. But for all the things that we can talk about Jim Crane that he did before he owned the team, right?
Right.
Because he had his own history.
Right.
I think he's paid people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I see that, right? Cowboys fans, now you messing. Now he's just being messy, huh?
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I think that Jim has paid people, but they have a way of doing business in terms of how they approach contracts,
Yeah.
which has allowed them to continue to be in the position that they're in year after year. And so I can't really argue with the level of success that their way of doing business does.
Yeah.
Has had because it's worked for them. Yeah, they've only won one World Series, but they've been in the ALCS
Yep.
5 times.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
that is their formula is working, and so I get it. I get it. You don't want to play you don't want a player on your payroll, and you're paying him, 30, $40 million a year, and he hitting 200.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've seen that happen a lot.
We have. Kim, we do have to get ready to go. Before we go, let me ask you a question. Staying
Okay.
in the division with the Texans, who's going to be the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, in your opinion?
I don't know. Maybe it'll be Baker Mayfield.
You know what? And I was going to ask about Baker, but I see 2 quarterbacks that make the Colts better if they get them over Baker Mayfield. One of those would be Jimmy Garoppolo, if he's healthy, coming off the offseason shoulder surgery. I think he fits what Frank Reich wants to do.
Yep.
And I think if Frank Reich was to really give Jameis Winston a shot and let him throw the ball, kind of help him and not just, try to control him, I think that would be a better shot than Baker Mayfield. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a better shot. I agree with Todd too, Matt Ryan, because now that relationship is fractured.
You're right about
the roster bonus is due that was supposed to be paid last Friday.
Right.
They moved it, that $7.5 million roster bonus, until tomorrow. So is Matt going to be in his feelings and say, I want out because y'all was going to dish me for Deshaun, and now Deshaun then left y'all?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a ripple effect in the mess.
Yeah.
Cleveland comes to play in Houston this year.
Yeah.
What do you think the fans will How do you think the fans will receive Deshaun if he's on the field, if he's a quarterback?
I was going to say the quarterback is going to be the second man who won in Cleveland. The biggest winner, of course, was Deshaun. The second biggest winner, Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett will get at least, I'm going to say Deshaun's going to be out for a season. He's going to get 17 games to audition for another team. And I'm happy for him about that. So I think Jacoby's going to be on the field when they come to Houston.
Well, in that case, then there won't be any the Boo Birds won't be taking over because Houston fans feel some kind of way about it.
All I'll say is, Houston fans, y'all remember the Astros. Kim, tell everybody where they can find you and follow you.
This is so great. So listen, you can follow me on Twitter at Kim Y Davis. You can follow me on Instagram at Kim.Y.Davis, and Chalk Talk on the YouTube and Facebook. So always good to be with you, AJ. I'm super excited about Jones Media and Entertainment. And anytime, my friend, just call me.
All right. Looking forward to doing some things with you soon, Kim. We'll talk soon. All right.
All right. Take care.
All right, y'all. Look, let me get Sybil Wilkes on with what you need to know. We'll get ready to go right after this. Sybil Wilkes, go ahead and tell us what's happening today out there in the world of news.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Monday, March 21st, 2022.
Happy spring, everybody. Number 1, history will be made today as the first Black woman, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, sits before the Senate Judiciary Committee, moving closer to confirmation as Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. As promised, President Joe Biden nominated a Black woman to fill the first opening on the highest court of the land. Several weeks after Justice Stephen Breyer confirmed his retirement, Mr. Biden nominated the current U.S. Court of Appeals federal judge. Number 2, if you own a company and travel for business, you may wonder whether you can deduct the cost of having your spouse accompany you on trips. The rules for deducting a spouse's travel costs are very restrictive. Read more information in today's newsletter brought to you by Texas CPA Katrina M. Kraft. Number 3, over the next few weeks, the U.S. should expect an increase in cases of the BA2 variant, but it may not lead to as severe a surge in hospitalizations or deaths. U.S. health experts have watched the developments in countries like the U.K., which is currently seeing a surge in cases. The pandemic in the U.S. has historically followed the U.K. by about 3 weeks. According to the latest data from the CDC, the BA2 variant, a more transmissible form of Omicron, now represents around a quarter of all cases in the United States. Number 4, 44 members of the so-called Cartersville 70 have been awarded a $900,000 settlement in a federal civil rights lawsuit. On New Year's Eve 2017, 70 people, including 5 juveniles, were arrested during a Bartow County house party for allegedly possessing less than an ounce of marijuana. 12 days later, the charges were dropped. Number 5. It started as what appears to be an everyday conversation with a student, but Atira Griffin is changing lives for generations to come. The Baltimore school administrator, daughter raised by a single mom, who was also raised by a single mom, has created the organization BOND, or Building Our Nation's Daughters, and creating unbreakable bonds between single moms of color and their daughters. This shero amongst us is featured in today's What You Need to Know Salute during National Women's History Month. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Hard work, dedication, and consistency are the keys to winning. Go get your dreams. All right. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with Chris Paul, Huggy Lowdown, and Coy Malone as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the American Heart Association. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SybylWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.
All right. Thank you very much there, Sybil Wilkes. And just before we get up the air, the breaking news has come. The Atlanta Falcons are trading quarterback Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts for a 3rd-round pick. So our question just got answered before we left. Matt Ryan going to to the Indianapolis Colts to take over after they traded away Carson Wentz. They will not be bringing in Baker Mayfield. So if somebody can do me a favor and get the number to the Atlanta Falcons to Baker Mayfield, he's looking for a job. All right, y'all, I got to get ready to go. Ivan Dawkins, I see your comment there. 1 hour is not enough. More lunch break. Hey, man, I'm trying to give the whole thing over to somebody else, man. I'm retired now. I do have some things coming up, though. I will be announcing them soon. But one of the things I got to let you know about is all the great things going on with the BS3 network. That's right. I'm a part of it. I'm glad to be in the family. And let me let you know a little bit more about it. Here's what's happening with BS3 TV. All right, y'all. That's what's happening with BS3 TV. All right, I got to get ready to go. Again, tomorrow I'll be hanging out with the coach, Johnny Cole. We'll have a special edition of the HBCU Stroll. Today, I want to thank Kim Y. Davis, Chalk Talk Sports, for coming on the lunch break, brought to you by Jones Media and Entertainment, courtesy of the BS3 network on ROKU TV. We appreciate y'all. As always, let's not be divided. Let's be united. I truly do love you. There is nothing you can do about it. I'll talk to you tomorrow.